Welcome to today's lesson. Today we're going to start today's lesson off by focusing on how to convert a fraction to a decimal into a percent and filling in this chart. You can also work backwards. You can also turn percentages into decimals and into fractions by doing the opposite type of math. So I'll show you how to do one way, and then for our last question I'll show you how to do the opposite way. So let's put in here 60% like that. All right, let's fill in this chart now. Here we have 37 out of 40. In order to turn a fraction into a decimal, all we have to do is type in 37. We want to divide the numerator by the denominator. So 37 divided by 40 would give us the decimal 0.925. 0.925. And now to figure out a decimal to a percentage, all we have to do is times it by 100. So take our number 0.925, times that by 100, and that gives us 92.5%. Moving on to a mixed fraction here, we have 2 and 4/6. To figure out what our decimal of 2 and 4/6 is, let's start off by turning this mixed fraction into an improper fraction. Let's do 2 times 6, which is 12. 12 plus 4 is 16 over 6. Now, let's figure out our decimal the same way we did above. Let's do the numerator by the denominator with a little division. 16 divided by 6 gives us the decimal 2.6, and on and on and on. Take your 2.6 and times that by 100. So 2.6 times 100, turn it into a percentage, and that gives us 260%. Moving on to our next improper fraction is 15 over 4. Here we don't need to convert it. Again, we can just divide the numerator by the denominator. 15 divided by 4 gives us the decimal 3.75. And to turn this into a percent, we times by 100, which gives us the percentage 375%. Our last step here is we have a 60%. And now I want to work backwards, converting the 60% into decimals and into fractions. Now here you notice we times it by 100. So what if we did 60 divided by 100? What would it give us? Here's the calculator. 60% divided by 100 would give us the decimal 0.6. And to turn it into a fraction, we know that the decimal 0.6, to turn it into a fraction, is actually 6 over 10, like that. That's how you convert fractions to decimals to percents. Hope that made sense. Let's move on to our next lesson today. Today we're going to move on to plotting fractions on a number line. Here we have a number line here. I apologize for this rough drawing of a number line. Here we have 1.20, 2 3/4, 14 over 3, 15 over 4, and the decimal 0.99. Well, we're going to try to be as accurate as possible. We don't have to be exact in this situation because our number line isn't the most perfect. We want to make sure we can be as accurate and close as possible. Let's start with this one here, 0.99. Looking at our number line right here, we can pretty much figure out 0.99 is almost the whole number 1. So why don't we put a green dot right there, and then let's label it 0.99. So we've got that one done. We also see another whole number with a decimal here, 1.20. Well, we know it's the whole number 1 and it's 0.2, so it's probably going to be somewhere around the quarter mark around here. So I'm going to put another green dot in front of the quarter mark, and that's going to be 1.20. Here we have 2 3/4, so I have a mixed fraction of 2 wholes and then 3/4. So here, 3/4. So here's my 2. That looks like a quarter there. That looks like halfway, 2/4. It looks like I've got 3/4 right there. So I have 2 and about 3/4 right here. So I'm going to put my green dot right there and label it 2 3/4. Here we have 14 out of 3, and you'll notice on my number line there isn't a 14, so we need to change this into a mixed fraction. We can change 14 over 3 into a mixed fraction by counting all the ways 3 goes into 14, or dividing 14 divided by 3, and then the remainders. So we know that 3 goes into 12 4 times. And then we know that will be 2 extra pieces after 12 to get to 14. and it's going to be over 3. So we know that this fraction, 14 out of 3, or 4 2/3, here's the number 4, and then 2/3 would be about here. Oh, sorry, my mistake. It would be right about here, past the halfway mark. This will be 4 2/3, just past half. And then our last one here, we have 15 over 4. Again, we need to convert this into a mixed fraction. So how many times does 4 go into 15 to get as close as possible? Sorry about that. We're going to do 3. And we know that we have 3 extra pieces. And we know that this is going to be a 4. So now we have 3 3/4. So look at the whole 3. And then find 3/4. There's our first half and 3 out of 4. So our last one is 15 out of 4. Or 3 3/4. Or this one over here was 4 2/3, or 15 out of 3. So I hope that helps you on how to plot fractions on a line. Now let's look at our last review here. Let's review our ratio and rates. So remember that ratios is comparing the same units of the same thing. And we often use a colon to show that we're working with ratios. And in English you usually hear the word to when working with ratios. When you break down ratios, they're actually saying that you have 4 parts out of a 9 total whole, or 5 parts out of a 9 total whole. Let's look at our diagram to show this. You'll see that I have a total or a whole of 9 right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And you'll notice that now I'll color in 4 of them. And now I have 4 green to 5 white. 4 to 5, 4 over 9 to 5. And that's how we use ratios when we want to compare something, 4 to 5. Looking at rates, it's a little bit similar.
Anwar, if you're in the building, please come to the office.
In rates,
Anwar,
working with rates, when you're comparing 2 different units with each other. So here we have 8 cans for $12. So we have this slash mark, which tells us we're working with rates. And so we have 8 cans for $12. That means you are going to get, if you pay $12, you'll get a total of 8 cans. In English, we usually use the words per, or for every, or in every. So if you hear the words per, for every, or every, we're working with rates. So here you can see I'm getting 8 cans for every $12, or 8 cans per $12. And the way this looks at when you use math is you put your 12 divided by 8. It's how you could break down to find the cost of each individual can. That's how you work with rates. Rates will also make a nifty little graph that will be increasing or decreasing and create a slope like this. On the bottom you would have cans, and here you would have dollars. And so if you paid $12, you would have 8 cans. And you can fill it in the rest of the way with more money and more cans. With rates, you can also work really both rates and ratios. The T-chart is always very helpful and handy in organizing your numbers. Here, if we wanted to make a T-chart for the ratio, here we know the ratio is 4 to 5. Well, what would it be continuing on if we continued it down our T-chart in our table? Same thing with our rates. We can do the same thing here. We know that our deal starts at 8 and 12. So 8 on one side and 12 here. What would be our next factors as we moved in? If we bought another 12, that would be 24, and this would be 16. If we increased it here by double, this became 10. This would become 8. That wraps up today's lesson on rates and ratios, plotting numbers on a fraction, plotting fractions on a number line, and of course converting fractions to decimals to percents. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask me, and enjoy the rest of your day.